Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone is doing very well on this Friday evening. It's a warm one in the UK. It's probably a warm one in the Canada. I can't even talk. In Canada as well, where Andre is currently as well, and wherever you guys are, I can see some of you around the world. I'm sure you're having a lovely evening. I hope you are. Today we are talking about on a live stream. If you're watching live, big yourselves up. We're going to be talking about top 3 must-have signings for Tottenham Hotspur this summer transfer window. We know there's a full rebuild coming, or is there? But hopefully there is. And we're going to be talking through our top 3 picks. Realistic picks, of course. We're not going to say Haaland, Bellingham, and who else. We're going to say realistic picks that Tottenham Hotspur should be going for. Today, I am joined alongside Andre SpursRelated all the way from Canada and Jack Burford all the way from the UK. How are we doing, Andre?
Oh, I'm doing great. Very excited to talk about at least my 3 picks. I don't know about you guys, but that I personally think most people are going to agree with that we should at least get one of those. So let's see.
Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing your picks, mate, and looking forward to a bit of a debate. Maybe Harry Maguire sneaked in there after your praise of him. Yes, Jack's praise of him on the last podcast. Jack, Wacko Jacko, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, as always. Looking forward. I was just thinking, is that my new nickname for the Spurs-related podcast?
It is.
I hope that doesn't catch on too much. But no, I'm doing well. Looking forward to talking through my picks. Relatively realistic. I think I'm looking a bit on the optimistic side, but as a Spurs fan, you've always got to be optimistic. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely love it. The numbers are growing. We love to see it Friday night. Get yourselves strapped in, get your popcorn ready, get your snacks ready, takeaway if that's your thing, or even just a nice cold drink. But here we are, Spurs on sabbatical, as always, legend. He's becoming the Iron Army. I miss Iron Army. Where's Iron Army? Maybe this is the new Iron Army. He's saying, how's all my children today? Paul G is in here. Hope all is well, James and co. Paul, big yourself up, mate. Thanks for joining. Measly Candy, big up, boys. Watching all the way from Malaysia, 4:15 in the morning. Mate, when I hear stuff like that, it makes it 100% worth doing, because it's like the fact you've tuned into us and you're 4 a.m. in the morning, big yourself up, mate. Thanks for joining us. Spurs on sabbatical, saying, can hear you guys having a lover's tiff in the background. Tell you what, I was having a boogie in the background. I can tell you that for free. Van Football Vents is saying, big up, lads. Happy Friday. Big up to yourself, mate. Happy Friday. Mark Cousins is in the building, says, big up, lads. The Titanic is sinking. Polish the head, Daniel. Spurs on sabbatical. You're enjoying the chance by the looks of things. Van Football is saying, are you lads on Spotify? We are. We're on Apple Pods and Spotify and all the best audio sources. So basically those two. And YouTube as well, of course. Measley is saying, yes, they are Spurs-related. And Van is saying, happy days, easier to listen when working. Big yourself up, mate. Smash the ratings on the Spotify. But lads, let's get into some content. And guys, while we're talking throughout this, smash your comments in. Get your opinions in. Which players would you get into Tottenham Hotspur this summer? I'm going to give it to Andre to take the mic.
Great. So let's start with mine. First off, all the players that we choose, I think as long as they're decent, Tottenham should be trying to get someone. I don't want to see this whole thing where throughout the summer we're going for several players and we don't get anybody. Pick one, ask Postecoglou what he wants, and get it for him. But let's start. I personally would like James Ward-Prowse. I know that in the past we've talked about how he would be a great addition to the midfield. I think that overall he's always done a lot for Southampton. It's unfortunate that they've been relegated, but I think it's the perfect time to bring him in. I think that Southampton will, I think they slapped a 50 million price tag on him, but I reckon we can get him for cheaper. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He's 28 years old. And this season, from 45 matches, he scored 11 goals and 5 assists across all competitions with an 85% pass completion. Decent player, all about the passing. I mean, he wears the captain's armband for a reason. He's got that leadership sort of mentality in him, and that'd be a great addition to the Tottenham squad.
Fair enough.
James.
All I would say is, though, a £50 million price tag, that's a lot of money for a player, in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily fit in our system. And I feel like, does he offer a lot more than free kicks? I think he's a good player, but is he good enough for where we want to be? Is there better alternatives for a better price? I would argue yes, but I like it. I think James Ward-Prowse is someone all our Spurs fans can definitely appreciate because he is a talented footballer.
Well, not only that, but I think that the homegrown thing would also help out in this case.
But that's what I mean. £50 million, James and Andre, we know Daniel Levy's budget doesn't stretch further than really 100 to 150 million. If you're spending a third of that, and that's being generous, if you're spending a third of that on an English quota centre mid, when I believe there's probably better, younger options, I feel like it's a lot of money. And for me, he doesn't
also £50 million for a player that's clearly going to leave Southampton. Southampton rock bottom of the Premier League last season, got relegated to the Championship. He's clearly not going to play in the Championship. Surely we have a bit of bargaining power there, which is Levy's favourite thing, to surely get a cheaper price on James Ward-Prowse. For me, no way is he worth £50 million. Although the market's gone absolutely crazy, I would not want to be bidding more than 30 million for this guy. I think, like Jack said, I think there is better options out there, not to completely disregard what you're saying, Andre, but I just think 50 mil for James Ward-Prowse is crazy. I mean, if we can sell Harry Winks for 40 million, maybe we're talking, but I just don't think 50 million is going to be spent by Levy and co.
Well, that's why I say I think we can bargain for a better price. I think that's the initial price tag they've given him, but Daniel Levy has a way of sort of making a deal. Obviously, it would be up to Tottenham to try and find a better deal. I wouldn't want $50 million spent on Ward-Prowse, because if we spend 50 million on a player, it's most likely we're not going to spend that much more after the fact. So definitely, as a player, I would want him at the club, but only if we could obviously negotiate some sort of $35 million price tag from the 50 that they did. I think because they're going down to the Championship, that's why I personally think we could negotiate something, especially because if they're stuck in the Championship for more than one season, he's down to his last year in his contract and they'll get nothing for him.
Money aside, though, Andre, where does he fit in your system? Because as we know, Ange likes to play a free in midfield, someone sitting, someone who can just sit in front of that back four and protect, but as well as have the ability to spray diags and play through the lines. For me, he's not a CDM. But is he a high-pressing centre-attacking midfielder as well? Is he going to have enough goals and assists that is required to play in a position like that? I'm not so sure. Where would you play him?
Well, I would personally play him on the right side. I think that right side has kind of been left open a little bit. I think he's a bit more of that central midfielder. He wouldn't be the one to come back. He would definitely be one to stay somewhat central, not go too forward, not too far back, but just get that ball in the passing lanes, pass it to the wingers, pass it back, pass it forward. He just has that kind of versatility. And I think that would work for this kind of system that Postecoglou wants. I think that before that, when Conte was in and he wanted to play very defensively, he would not have fit in the squad for as much as I rated him. But I think that this is the chance to sort of sign him if we can get a good price for him.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Big yourself up, Chris. I think our first member on the channel, or certainly since we've been back again. So big yourself up, Chris. Nice to see you. Spurs on Sebastian. I want Maddison, Alex Scott, Jack Harrison, Amrabat, the Valencia keeper, Kilman, Tar. Not much to ask for then. James Ward-Prowse offers nothing, he says, but set pieces at 28. He's too old for me. James Maddison's got 4 free kicks last season and 40 goal conts in 2 seasons. No to James Ward-Prowse. This has to go. Measley is saying Hatate, Kang Lee, Raya, decent CB, maybe another 6. Dave Zinnes, bigging up Andre, big yourself up, David Hoyle. He's not that technical either. Bringing Alex Scott. I've seen a lot of people on Alex Scott from Bristol City. Very good player. Pep even regarded him highly after the game that they played in the FA Cup. Maddison, Jack Harrison, and Max Kilman is the one I've heard a lot, all for the English quota. Fans saying, I would say 25 to 30 mil max on him. We need to pay big money on centre-backs and a goalie. I think you're right. And finally, Spurs sabbatical saying James Maddison offers much more than JWP, but I respect your choice. And we love people's opinions on here. We love respecting choices. David Oil saying, is that Spurs-related jersey behind you, Andre?
Oh yeah, it's some merch that you can always get some information on the Spurs-related page if you'd like something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not. We haven't got a merch line being quite open with you guys, but I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll do a merch store. Who knows? But at the moment, we just love talking transfers. We love talking Tottenham Hotspur, and I think it brings us on beautifully to Andre's second pick.
Yeah, so someone that we've been linked with before, Pau Torres. I've always rated this guy, and VRL. I mean, they've won trophies. He's won trophies now. They just finished 5th, and I know that he has European football, but I think that if he sees this project, he could possibly be brought over. Unfortunately, I believe he has a 55 million release clause, and that's the only thing sort of slightly stopping me from being super hyped about possibly getting him, unless we could do something beyond the release clause. He does have 1 year left on his contract, so that's something that can easily be negotiated. Probably it could be used to our advantage in this case. The guy's 6'2", he's 26 years old. He's played 39 matches, pass completion of 85%, and a tackle success rate of 77%. Those are some good stats. I think, especially when you look at the lineup of our back line, that is such a good addition to the squad, especially if we're going to be playing 4 at the back again. Romero and Pau Torres would be great. He is, I believe, a left-footed center back.
Yeah, he's left-footed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Pau Torres would be a fantastic addition to Tottenham. I just really don't believe we can prize him away from Villarreal. European football, Tottenham don't have that to offer. It was hard enough to get him to join. He wasn't convinced of the project, I think, under Conte. I think we were heavily linked. According to Fabrizio Romano, this is when we were thinking about looking at the likes of Bastoni, Pau Torres, even Milan Skriniar was being spoke about. And I just find it hard to believe that we can now convince him. I don't think we're in a position where we'll be able to do that. Great player, great ball distribution, played at high levels in Champions League, won the Europa League, I'm pretty sure, under Unai Emery. So, yeah, great player. I would love him to join. Just a shame I don't think we'll prize him away.
Well, see, I feel like depending on what the project is that Tottenham offers, we could possibly do that. It's 1 year left on his contract, right? If Villarreal have sort of left it to this last minute type of feeling, I'm pretty sure Pau Torres is thinking to himself, okay, do I stick around and then there's an uncertainty in my future, or maybe go into this new sort of project? Not to mention that Villarreal, if they've left it to the last year, they probably don't want him to go for free. We could probably negotiate something.
But realistically, I think he's played there for quite a long time. Maybe they're not playing badly in the league. They're doing well in Europe. So who's to say that they're not going to carry on succeeding? We know we've had Harry Kane at Spurs, we've had Son. We've managed to keep these players happy. If he's a player that respects Villarreal, who's saying he's against signing a new contract? We're also likely to face a lot of competition. Think about it. He's been linked with Manchester United. Definitely lots of other clubs will be in for him, and I just don't feel we're going to be able to prize him away. Love to be proven wrong. Usually I'm optimistic, but I'd like to stay realistic as well.
I don't know. James has been a little quiet about this one. I'm worried that maybe he does not agree.
I'm actually probably in between how you guys are thinking on this one. I think he's a very good player. Like you said, we've been linked with him for 2-3 windows now. Left-footed player, can play a high line. Left-sided centre-back would fit perfectly with Romero. I just don't think he's worth 50 to 60 million pounds. I also don't think he's going to want to come away from European football. And I think as Spurs and Sabbatical and a couple of others are saying, it's probably not worth the money for a player where you can go elsewhere, you can tick off that English homegrown quota, or potentially another signing for 30 to 40 million pounds. Now, I don't want to go against everything I say about saving money and going for the cheaper option, right? But I also am not convinced Pau Torres is worth 50, 60 million pounds. I wasn't convinced Richarlison was worth 60 million pounds, and I was right on that one. I'm not always right, but I wasn't convinced that. I think you got to look at the value for money. We'll come on to other players in a minute. I'll talk about value for money, but James Maddison, for example, you can probably pick him up for around £40 million. Leicester have been relegated. He's going to want to come back to the Premier League 100%. I think we're in a race between us and Newcastle. I just don't think Pau Torres, I know he's got a bit left on his deal. 60 million just seemed absolutely crazy. Guys, let us know in the comments what you're thinking on Pau Torres as well. It's about 20-25 of you now. Big up the support tonight on a bit of an unexpected live stream. And if you guys could smash that like and subscribe button for more content, we'd appreciate that. Andre, I think we want to hear your third one now, mate.
Great. So this one, honestly, I know you guys have been calling for it. So, I mean, I was keeping it a secret. I did pick James Maddison. It would be silly not to get him if he's available. He's honestly what we discussed how he did last season and the previous seasons in the previous episode, right? And I mean, why not get him, especially if the Leicester's been relegated, unfortunately, and I'm sure he doesn't want to be he probably wants to move on.
Leicester getting relegated, absolutely fantastic news. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I know, and I think I mean, why not get him? And I don't know if you guys picked him as well, but what more can be said? I mean, I just think with this guy, you need to get him. He's an attacking midfield in a front three. He would be the guy to create everything and feed the ball to our forwards, no matter who's at the top there. I think that he would be essential to this team. He'd immediately fit into that starting 11. Just get him.
Jack, I'll let you start.
James Maddison, what a player. Absolutely love him to come to Tottenham. I think we're going to face tough competition in Newcastle with them offering Champions League, probably high wages if we're being honest as well. Look how much money they have. They're saying they've only got about 70 million available to spend, according to some sources. I don't believe that at all. I reckon they've got massive financial power that they can use and they will use, especially being in Champions League football. But James Maddison, what's not to like? Creative midfielder, knows how to score. He can score from 25 yards out. He's good around the box, dead ball specialist. And I feel like he can make that natural step up to try and push on. He's played in the FA Cup finals with Leicester, won the FA Cup. He's played in Europe. Honestly, I think like he's that type of player that is ready to try and make the next step in his career. And I feel like Tottenham would be a nice progression for him. And I think it would be a great deal for all parties, especially if we can get a special Daniel Levy deal, maybe for like 40 million, 45 million, definitely worth the price.
Yeah, not to mention he'd probably say, "Oh, we'll pay you in like 3 installments." So that could work. I also think that to an extent, I think our power will come from what other signings we're planning to do. Because if James Maddison sees that we are not really going for anybody else, and he's the only one coming in a team that needs a almost complete rehaul, he's not going to come to Tottenham. But if he sees a project, he sees the change, he sees the signings, he sees that we're selling players that should have left seasons ago, he could be enticed to come all the way here to Tottenham.
The only thing I'd argue is with a player like James Maddison, this is the perfect opportunity for him to come into a team and feel like a man. Like the man who can make a real difference. Before, we were playing a system that didn't suit him. Now he's playing in his perfect role, just behind the striker, working alongside Harry Kane, one of the best strikers in Europe, hopefully, providing he doesn't move to Real Madrid or Manchester United. And they're in the England camp every day together. And I'm sure James Maddison is someone who would love to be feeding balls through to Harry Kane. I think they would work. Newcastle right now, they've got a great squad and a great team, but I don't think they have the star power that Tottenham have in Son, Kane, and you could even argue Kulusevski. So I feel like he could be prized away from Newcastle if someone like Ange Postecoglou can get into and really display his project, just like Arteta did to Gabriel Jesus, and that's how they managed to get someone like him into their team, which we've all seen how well he's done at Arsenal this season.
Yeah, I was going to also say, I mean, there was a point in time when Arsenal was not offering any European football, and they got some really good players. It really just depends on the project and what they're seeing, right? I think this window is so crucial. If we don't make any signings, good luck getting anybody that's like great in the winter window. Winter window is like, okay, we've seen the little holes there that we need to fix up. Let's tighten it up a little more. Let's make 1 or 2 more signings. But this summer, we actually do need to make a lot of changes. And I think it starts with this one.
Yeah, spot on. And I think also, like, you look at James Maddison coming in as that creative player, that more advanced midfield player. But I think obviously naturally you got to have departures. Alistair Gold's reported we're probably going to be getting rid of 5, 6, 7 players apparently. I hope that's the case. But if you look at the positions that we need to get rid of, Les Elso and Dembele goes first. I would say both. You've got Harry Winks coming back from loan. I would say he needs to go. So there's so many different options here. Sukil, big yourself up, mate. Been a while. He's saying Ibanez, Bremer, and Chiesa. Wow, Chiesa, what a player he is, by the way. That's right. I said a Danish-Irish winger. Guys, have a look at Matt O'Reilly. I think we might do a little video on maybe some, what do you call it? Like some outside kind of picks, because, you know, this isn't really a mainstream pick, Matt O'Reilly, but I'm sure you're very right. I'm sure he's a very good player from Celtic. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to pretend I do. I know a little bit more about Atate from Celtic and how much of a solid centre mid he is, and I'm sure he would be a pick of a lot of people. And I'm sure we're going to be looking at Celtic players. I'm sure we'll be linked with Kyogo Furuhashi. I'm sure we'll be linked with Jota, and I'm sure we'll be linked with Atate from Celtic, as well as potentially O'Reilly, like you're saying, sabbatical. So I think there's some exciting times. I think Celtic have some good players. And I think also we're going to be looking at players we may not have heard of from the Asian market and the Australasian market. I think there's going to be many, many hidden gems we don't know about. I mean, you look at Brighton's recruitment. I'm not going to compare ours to Brighton's because it's an absolute laughing stock. But look at Brighton picking out these gems from teams like USG in Belgium, and picking out players from the Japanese league and and other leagues that, you know, Mitoma, 2 million, I think they paid for him. I mean, it's crazy. The guy's probably worth 40 now. It's just mental. But we need to be smart in the window. We don't need to be playing over the odds for players that are just not worth it. But yeah, Andre, good picks, mate. I rate them. Jack, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I'm sure Andre has got his slides ready available. Andre, do you want to get the slides up first, or shall I just go in for a player that I'm going to choose?
Bang.
Oh, hello.
Who is this then, Jack? We just talked about him, haven't we?
We certainly did. Well, it proves Spurs related. The fans, they know, the community know ball, because Chiesa, what a player. And he was my outside pick. Someone where I said relatively realistic, because he's a player. If we can bring him in, wow. He is brilliant. Every time I watch this man play in the Euros, in the Serie A, in the Champions League, obviously not being in it this year, he just sets the world alight. I really believe that he's got superstar talent. And this season, he's hardly played for Juventus. So I've got his stats up here. He has scored 2 goals and 5 assists in the Serie A with 21 appearances. So realistically, on paper, these are not great stats. But if you guys know football, it's not all about stats. The eye test, when you watch a player, you see the effect they have on the game. If you know Chiesa, he's a player with serious ability. And I think
he's been injured as well, mate. He's been injured this season.
He's been injured a lot, and I was coming on to that. And I feel like with the injury concerns that some fans at Juventus might have on him, there's a price that Juventus might be willing to sell him, which would be realistic. If you look 2-3 years ago, Chelsea and Liverpool were being linked with 18, 19 million pound moves for this man. And with him only being in 16% on track, according to Transfer Market, of the starting lineup this season, albeit being injured for a lot of the season, I feel like what an addition he would be. Imagine having Richarlison, Kane, Son, Kulusevski, and Chiesa as your options on the front line. That's serious squad depth. That's some of the best in the Premier League. And I feel like bringing him in would really show intent for us to try and get back into those Champions League places, and hopefully even a trophy.
And how much money do you think we're going to have to pay for him, though?
It's going to cost a lot of money. There's a deal to be done, but I reckon 50 to 60 million pounds, easy. But for me, that's someone of superstar quality and superstar ability. So I'd be willing to spend that amount of money on a player of his caliber.
Love it. I love Chiesa. I think he's a very, very underrated player. He impressed in the Euros. He didn't impress in the World Cup because Italy didn't qualify. But, you know, he's been very good in Europe. Every time I see him, he seems to smash in a goal. He loves a goal from just outside the box, curling into that right or left-hand side of the net. He's a very, very, very solid player. Tricky, hard to tackle. He's a very, very good player.
What if we did like a swap between Richarlison and Chiesa? Would that be a good deal?
Well, Juventus, if they had any kind of knowledge, they would not go for Richarlison, player that's apparently worth 60 million, but I probably wouldn't pay more than 10 for him.
I really am. I think Richarlison could come good. Controversial take once again. But Richarlison, he has the ability. We've seen how well he performs as a number 9 for Brazil. Scored some fantastic goals. And it just hasn't clicked for him this season. He scored some good goals that were offside for Tottenham. I think he's better centrally. Let's give him another year.
No, I'd give him another year. I just don't want to get into a situation where we keep a player that's worth 60 now, probably market value, 40 at best. And then we keep him another year. He has another stinker. He's then worth 30. And it's like no one wants to buy him. We come into a situation where it's like Ndombele, Lo Celso, where we can't get rid of these players. I hope this doesn't happen with Richarlison, but my goodness, he was way off it last season. I'm not afraid to admit that I honestly could not care if he went this summer. Genuinely. I think he deserves one more season. And I think he deserves one more season under a manager that is probably going to play him more. But I am also a bit skeptical about his general ability. So I'm going to kind of go against what you say, Jack. I think he is talented and I think he's a good player, but I can never see him being a 20-goal a season player. I really can't. I struggle to see it. I mean, I'm happy to be clipped and proven wrong next season. I'll hold my hands up and say amazing. But if I had to predict how many goals he'll score next season, it will not be in double figures.
It all depends on the system you play. I think with a manager like Postecoglou, I know we're drifting off a bit here because we're talking about Richarlison, but a high-pressing attacking system where a striker like Richarlison might not be in the game for 15, 20 minutes, but will get that one really good opportunity. I feel like that really suits his game style. I generally believe there's a player in Richarlison, and I think he could excel under a new manager. I don't think Conte was right for him. I don't think the style of football, I think it was too negative for a player like Richarlison. But I could see him really stepping up to the plate next year. But we never know with these things. So I totally understand your take as well, James.
Yeah, I rate this pick. I think it just depends on what I think one forward would need to go in order to bring in another one like Chiesa. I don't think he'll be happy going from sitting on the bench at Juventus than coming to sit on the bench at Tottenham.
Just a quick one for all the Spurs relatables in the chat and everyone. Would you swap Kulusevski for Chiesa? Because don't forget,
100%.
No, is it as easy as that?
That's a mad question, Jack.
Is it a mad question though? Because Kulusevski was absurdly good in that first season. He was brilliant, and the grass is not always greener. So I'm just asking. It's more of a risk than you think. So we all would be in agreement that we would swap him.
I don't think it is a risk. I think Chiesa is a far better football player than Kulusevski. You guys know me on this channel now. I try not to be emotional towards Spurs and biased. If anything, it's become the opposite. But I genuinely think that Chiesa is a better player than Kulusevski. I see what you're saying. First season, he was very good. He did change that team. But you've also got to consider that last season, he was proper off it in a same system, same manager. He just wasn't ticking. Yes, you can have off games. Yes, you can have off seasons. But I also believe that Chiesa is a better player than Kulusevski. I mean, I think Chiesa normally cuts in from the left anyway, and Kulu is more of a right winger. But if you're asking me, would I swap them in a heartbeat?
Even though, just so everyone knows, statistically, Kulusevski has had a better season. Albeit he's been injured. And I think even if I looked at the year before, Kulusevski had better statistics for the year before as well. So the past 2 seasons, Kulusevski on paper would have better numbers under his name. But as we all know, Chiesa is an extremely talented footballer. So I don't think it's as easy as you think. I think
you said it yourself, Jack. It's not all about the stats, mate. You said it yourself.
Be diplomatic. I want to hear what people say. You've got to put up an argument for both sides.
Go on then. Let's hear it in the chat. Chiesa or Kulusevski, who are you taking? Spurs on sabbatical saying I would swap Kulu in a heartbeat. He's not good enough. He's too predictable and slow. Yeah, Tony TT from Facebook, big yourself up, mate. He's saying Maddison, James Ward-Prowse, and David Raya. That looks pretty familiar. Big yourself up, mate. Missed a comment from Wayne. Wayne, big yourself up, mate. Thanks for all your comments offline as well. Really do appreciate all the support and the comments offline as well, guys, from these live streams. Really helps grow the channel. Really helps us interact with you guys as well. So please do always feel free to leave us a comment and a like and a subscribe, of course, if you are new. Wayne also said, just joined. Any news on a keeper? So, Wayne, this video, we're just trying through our top 3 picks of signings, and we did briefly mention. Has anyone mentioned the goalkeeper yet? Andre, you
Not
didn't, did
yet.
you? No, so you haven't missed anything, Wayne. Andre picked Ward-Prowse, Maddison, and Pau Torres, and Jack's picked Chiesa, and who else, Jack?
Oh, look at that. English international, Crystal Palace centre half. Genuinely, I believe would be a fantastic steal for Tottenham. And I believe in 2 years' time or a year's time, we will not have another opportunity to buy Marc Guehi. The reason I say that is because I think there'll be a lot bigger clubs sniffing around trying to get him to join their club, because I genuinely believe he's a fantastic player. If you speak to Crystal Palace fans on Twitter or in person, they genuinely believe he's the best centre half they've had in over a decade. And every time I watch him play, he never fails to disappoint. I think he's extremely comfortable on the ball. I think he reads the game really well. He's only young. He's going to come. He fits the homegrown quota. And I feel like at a price of 35, 40 million, which maybe I'm being a bit biased because he could be more than that. I'm sure Crystal Palace fans would expect him to go for a higher price tag. I generally believe he's a fantastic player.
I'll let James take care of this one.
Yeah, no, for sure, Jack. I completely agree with what you're saying. I was just actually trying to look what preferred foot he is. Is he left-footed?
He's
He is right-footed. So my argument, I thought he was. I was just double-checking. So my argument on here would be, I think you're spot on. I think he is very comfortable on the ball. He likes pushing up forwards, so it probably would fit a Postecoglou system. My only concern is he a natural left-sided centre-back? Because that is essentially what we're trying to fill here. And also, is he going to have a lot of English tax on him in terms of that homegrown quota? Are we going to be paying Crystal Palace 50, 60 million pounds when he may only be worth 30, 40, for example? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely could come at a high price tag due to that. I'm laughing because I have a feeling Andre is not so keen on him, so I'm interested to see what he's saying after. I could be wrong, but I generally believe he's fantastic. I think he could play in a high line. I think he's got great ball distribution. But the reason why I want him now, James, because I generally don't believe we're going to have the opportunity to sign him again. I really believe this guy has got serious quality, and I think, yeah, now or never, really, because Crystal Palace to Tottenham is a big step up at this stage of his career because he's young. He's started to establish himself as a serious, good quality Premier League centre half. But if he starts to impress even more and he has another season or improves on his season last year, there's going to be some big clubs, because I think he plays alongside Joachim Andersen, who is also a really good player. And he was actually in my picks last year. But watching them play together, I think it's clear to see Marc Guehi is someone who can excel further than Andersen. So, yeah, for me, James, I think we've got to spend the money and bring him in.
See, I'm going to pick out a specific word. You said if he has another good season, meaning he could possibly not have another good season. And I don't know if we're in a position right now to be signing players where we don't know if they're going to have another good season. I think we need to be getting experienced players who are ready to go, who have had multiple seasons that have been really great, and that we know that when they come into this first 11 that they're going to, they're going to be exactly what we paid for. That's my only concern. But again, I respect your pick. I think it's always good to look at the young players that are incoming, and there's clubs always try and make those signings, those bargain signings for players that could potentially end up being just amazing. But we are not. I don't think we're in that position right now.
Sorry to cut you off, Andre, but I totally disagree for once. I'm going to stick my neck on the line here. But I feel like I've had enough of us trying to sign these experienced, established players that are past their peak. I was all for it under Conte and Mourinho and just buying the players that he wanted then and there. But we're entering a stage of a new project and we're going to miss out on a brilliant player here. He genuinely, I believe, hand on heart, will excel and go to the top, as Harry Redknapp famously once said. He's a brilliant player, and I'm telling you now, if we don't pick him up now, we're going to be like, there's Ruben Dias-Los, Milan Skriniar, John Stones when we had the opportunity to buy him. All these players, when we have the chance, we don't pull the trigger. And I think we're thinking, oh well, if we pay an extra 10 million, that's another money down the drain. No, I don't believe that. I'm telling you now, next year we won't have the opportunity to sign him because he would have gone to another club and it would have propelled. These are the risks we've got to take for the system and the football we want to play under Ange Postecoglou and the direction we want to go in. We have to buy him now because we don't have the star power of a Champions League quality players, so we can't buy those established players. We have to buy good players with the potential to become world class and take that risk.
Well,
look, Sessegnon, Jed Spence, Brian Hill. What else we got? Did I say Sessegnon already? What else? Yeah. What other signings? Young signings who have come in. Udogie, right? We got all these guys. Pape Matar Sarr, another one. We got them.
Good,
yeah, but they all got loaned out.
Completely different.
They all got loaned out.
Only
one of those players you mentioned there had played in the Premier League for a full season. Ryan Sessegnon had about 9 months in the Prem alongside being injured and was a good player, but he never reached the levels, in my opinion, that Guehi has at Crystal Palace. Don't forget, Sessegnon also got relegated that season. The other players, Brian Hill, Jed Spence, Pape Matar Sarr, they were either playing abroad or in the Championship. He's gone under the radar. I'm telling you for a fact, this guy is a very good player. The reason why I'm trying to bring my passion across here is because I know it's a controversial take, but I genuinely believe he's a really good player, and I think we're going to miss out on a top quality player if we don't spend the money this summer.
I want to believe you. But like the last few signings where we made experienced player signings, I'm not talking about past their peak. Okay, I'm not talking about Perisic. I'm talking about Romero. I'm talking about Bentancur. These were players that were ready to go, and look how great they've been. That's the kind of signings we need.
Look at Perisic. Look at these players that we spent the extra money paying £200,000 a week. And Ndombele.
I'm not talking about Perisic. Perisic, I personally thought was way too old to come to the Premier League.
Yeah, but you're talking about the established players from other leagues.
Yeah, like in their late 20s. Ward-Prowse is 28. We've got Maddison, who's somewhere around there. We've got Pau Torres is 26. These are players who have had multiple good seasons.
Maddison's younger than 28. He's a lot younger than 28.
Sorry, James, you were going to say something, mate.
25, 26, I think he is. But I think it's a good argument here, guys. Be interested to see. Most of the chat are actually against Jack here in terms of they're not sure on Marc Guehi. I actually think he's a good player. I just think there's better centre backs out there, and I'll explain in my points. But interesting debate, Jack. I don't want to
just quickly just to close off. I think there might be better centre halves out there now, but I genuinely, because I think I know who you're going to say, certain centre-back at Manchester City, even Pau Torres to an extent, but I don't think we can prize them away. I think Marc Guehi is someone that can grow with the club and has the potential to eclipse these players. Maybe not the one at Manchester City, because I genuinely believe he's probably...
What do you mean we can't prize them away? Like, I don't understand your point. I mean, I think if anything, Palace will want to hold on to Marc Guehi. I don't want to
spoiler, but Laporte, Pau Torres, they're playing European football week in, week out.
Laporte's leaving no matter what. I mean, he's cried his eyes out at the end of the season because he knows he's going. He's not in
another Champions League club. I generally don't believe he's coming to Tottenham, mate. I don't think he wants to play no European football. Laporte could go to most... Think about it. He could start for probably every team in the Premier League, apart from Manchester City.
But I think you could argue that with Maddison to some extent as well.
I don't agree. I think a centre half of Laporte's calibre probably starts for every team. If you look at Liverpool, Arsenal, Odegaard, Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes, I don't believe Maddison starts for everyone. But maybe he does. But in my opinion, Laporte is a serious player that can go anywhere he likes.
Listen, guys, I've got a bit behind on the comments. I do apologise. There's been some good debates going on, lots of opinions. I'll try and catch up. Spurs on Spatical saying Mark Kilman is a much better defender. Laporte is the centre-back we need. Says Wayne. Suko saying buy Kilman, Guehi, Bremer and Ibanez. Joseph thinks we're going to get in a Japanese player. I think you could be right there, Joseph. Jason Helms. Laporte and Ramirez speak the same language. That would be a huge benefit, not to mention all the other reasons to bring Laporte in. Lemuel is saying Pau Torres is a yes. Measley saying promote Charlie Sayers. Peter Patches, big up Peter, mate, saying get Kim Min Jae in. We should have got him when he's cheaper. I think there's going to be some serious competition for him, including Man United and probably even bigger clubs than that. The latest talk is we in former Serie A player of the season, Bremer. Well, the absolute transfer merry-go-round goes round, doesn't it? How many times have we done videos on Bremer in the last 2 years? Jack, your final pick?
My final pick. Who else other than James Maddison? I think we've said enough on this man already. Star quality, Premier League proven, played in big games already. Football man, he said multiple times on Sky Sports, loves analysing his own footage and seeing where he can improve. Someone Ange Postecoglou can work with. He can be the star, plays in the 10. I think he would score loads of goals for us, work brilliantly with Harry Kane, bring that feel-good factor back to Spurs. I'd love to see some long-range goals again, which I know he can provide, as well as being a dead ball specialist. It's a no-brainer, boys.
Yeah, 2 for 2. How about it, James? I think it's your turn.
2 for 2, exactly. So many comments coming through. Big yourself up. I think there's 30 of you across all socials right now watching. So massive support. I think there's only been 12 likes. Can we get up to 30 would be amazing. Subscribe, of course, if you are new. And as I've just put in the chat there, if you do want, because it got to a point, guys, I can't even read out every comment, which is amazing support. Really do appreciate everyone. But if you do want to skip the queue on comments, create a talking point maybe for us, there is the super chat feature, and it helps out the channel massively, helps us improve our equipment and the likes. And of course, it helps us strive towards growing the channel. I will go to mine as well now. Here we go. In no particular order, I think it makes complete sense to talk about this guy. I've seen a couple of comments in the chat saying he's too old, he won't fit in a Postecoglou system. I personally don't agree, because I honestly think this guy is world class. I think Manchester City have formed a fantastic partnership between Stones and Diaz, and unfortunately Laporte doesn't fit in. They're even thinking of selling Bernardo Silva. Man City, this is why they're so good in the last 6 years. They have world-class midfield, they have world-class defenders, world-class strikers, a world-class bench, but they still keep it moving. They keep it fresh. If they have any players that have a change in heart, Pep manages that and gets them out the door. Laporte, yes, you could say he could go to a Barcelona. He could even go to a Manchester United. But I genuinely think that if Daniel Levy goes with what he said today in terms of we made mistakes, we paid the price of not getting in proper players, then here's the chance to redeem yourself. You've got a world-class player up on the market. He's leaving the club. Manchester City are basically saying, come and get him. He's not in our plans. He's not in Pep's plans. Come and get this guy. He is a world-class centre-back. We've been lacking it for years now. We've got Romero. He needs that partner like Jan and Toby were back in the day. Bring in Laporte, left-sided centre-back. Bang.
Yeah, I would say that if Pau Torres can't come in, because obviously that's my pick, Laporte would be amazing. That would be such a good partnership at the back. They speak the same language. You've seen what he's done for Man City, well-established, ready to go. And for multiple seasons, he would still not even hit the peak yet. So I 100% okay with
a stronger player than Laporte then, in your opinion, Andre?
Pardon?
Do you think Pau Torres is a stronger player than Aymeric Laporte?
I just worry that wait, how much would we is he's not a free agent, is he? I haven't really checked.
He's not a free agent, but I think Laporte's going to be around 40 to 50 million.
Yeah, so it'd be I just think that he would cost a lot more than Pau Torres, to be honest, even though he is on his way out. But Man City knows what kind of player they have in their hands, and they could ask for a lot of money. That is why I went with Pau Torres. But I mean, if you could get Laporte for the exact same amount of money, then yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with either or.
I mean, Manchester City paid 57 million for him. I don't think they're going to make a profit on him. And I think, like I said, he's not in Pep's plans. I can see him going for 40 mil.
Yeah. I think Manchester City never really, not like Daniel Levy or Spurs in the past anyway, they kind of try and get as much money as possible when they sell players. Man City are more than happy to take the quality, a good fee, ship them on. They don't really spend much time hassling on the price tag. So I don't think the price is the problem for any club, really, especially of a player of his quality. But I think, like I say, it's more the problem, the competition we may face. But if we can do it under the radar and no one really knows, and Laporte's open to come in, my word, what a statement signing that would be. A back two at the start of Laporte and Romero as your centre-half partnership would be mouthwatering. It's brilliant.
Yeah, A lot of people in the chat are saying about Bella Kotchap, believe was at Southampton last season. What do you guys think on this one very quickly?
Yeah, solid, decent. I'll be surprised. I guess he's a bit younger, Bella Kotchap, I reckon. But if people are turning their nose up at Marc Guehi, but like Bella Kotchap, which I think is a good player, I believe Guehi's got a higher ceiling. I think he's a stronger player. But then again, he's really impressed me at Southampton last year. Is he English? I'm not sure. I feel like he is. So that would be homegrown quota as well. So yeah, I'm open to. I would like to see him for another year potentially. Guehi, he's had a couple of seasons now and is in the England fold, in the England setup. That's why I know a bit more about him. What about yourself, Andre?
I mean, you know what? Probably he'd be a good signing, but right now we shouldn't even be worrying about getting backups. Get your starters in first, man. Just take, this is the window to bite the bullet, and just, it's gonna hurt Daniel Levy a little, but every signing he makes needs to be a signing where we're like, yep, that guy's starting in the first match. That's the kind of signings we need right now, and then worry about backups later.
Bella Kotchap is German, by the way, Jack.
Apologies, I just checked. Yeah. I don't think he's got called up yet, or at his first call up. But then again, I'm not going to act like I've watched him quite a couple times for Southampton, but I'm sure there's people more informed on his ability than myself.
Yeah, Alex Gonzalez, big yourself up, mate. I've seen this comment a couple of times from you, Jonathan Tarr, and also Spurs and Spatacle, both saying this. 18 mil could be a cheap option. Established player in the Bundesliga, by Leverkusen, been highly rated for a number of years. No real big clubs come in for him. Potentially it's time for a step up for him. Good suggestion. Tempest Fugit, haven't seen you in a while, mate. Hope you're doing very well. Saying I just hope Levy doesn't sabotage his own bid for lowballing his valuation. We desperately need a keeper, centre-back and a creative midfielder minimum. And I completely agree. And as we're talking about centre-backs, we're talking about goalkeepers. Move on to my second pick, which is Raya of Brentford. Now, it came out in reports this week from Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United and Tottenham are both in the running for Raya. £40 million Brentford are trying to hold out for. I personally would pay the money. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. Andre went through his stats recently. His stats compared to Hugo Lloris, even compared to Forster, is crazy. His shots per 90 is incredible. He is an incredible shot stopper. And as we talked about, Jack, in a previous podcast, his distribution and his play out is just what we need in this system. We really need to be playing this, pass it out from the back, but also keep the centre backs high. That centre mid comes deep, brings the ball forward to the creative players, which would be James Maddison. No spoilers for my next one. But I mean, Raya is just a fantastic goalkeeper. He's going to be Spanish number one. I really do believe that. And I think £40 million, it sounds a lot for a goalkeeper, but in this market, it's just, you're not going to get a player like this for 20 million. Brentford have already dealt with his replacement. They've already got in a new goalkeeper. They are selling this guy no matter what. We're in a bidding war. I think it is with Man United. Let's get it done. Let's not be dwelling on this in 12 months and saying, oh, why didn't we pay 5 million more and add them to the list of 10, 15, 20 players that we've missed out on from stupid bargaining power that we don't have. Let's get this done. Let's get an established goalkeeper that's on the market, and let's be happy that we have an unbelievable shot stopper, right?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, if we were to bargain something, 5 million at the most, I think is in the bargaining space for someone like David Raya. And I really hope that Levy goes in knowing that that's going to be the case, and he's not going to be lowballing and then basically offending Brentford with some of his, with some of his bids, and then they'll just move on. Like the ridiculous amounts of bids that I've seen from Daniel Levy, where I would just straight up be like, "Hey, we're done. We're not even talking anymore." Like, that was really dumb. I'm moving on. And then, yeah, I don't want that. Give something realistic, please, Daniel Levy.
Exactly. Big up, Wayne. Massive thank you for the new membership. I think that's 2 memberships this week. Big yourself up, mate. Really always have appreciated your support on the channel. I know you've been here since we had only a few subscribers, so I really do appreciate that. Means the world to us. All these new memberships, all these new super chats and comments coming through, even just a like on the video, guys, really does help us out. So Wayne, massive big up to you, and thanks from all of us. Lemiel is saying Melier will be cheaper. I do not rate Melier. I've seen enough of him at Leeds and think he flaps about too much when it comes from crosses, and he just makes mistakes. He's made a few mistakes last year. Yes, you could argue Leeds' defence was awful and they had a lot to do, but for me, I'm not convinced by Melier. What do you guys think?
Definitely not up to the standard for where we want to be. Far better options on the market, and with a manager like Ange Postecoglou, who is known for fantastic recruitment, I'm sure there's better players abroad as well. An interesting shout, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
remember Wayne is saying get Raya, Laporte in, sell the Deadwood, and then work on the rest of the team, including youngsters like Scarlett and Devine. I think that's what's so promising about Ange Postecoglou is he's going to work with the youngsters. He's going to give them time. Conte was all about loaning these players out and not giving them too much of a chance. I think the only time Conte really was giving youngsters a chance was in the Europa Conference League when we only had those like 5 games. He started trying to play like a couple of the youngsters. I even remember playing Marc Guehi before he then went to Blackburn. It just doesn't work clearly. But Postecoglou, I think, is an absolutely perfect manager for the youngsters. He's managed the Australian under-17s and 19s. He's done really well, transformed their style of football. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with our academy. And Levy said it himself in his statement. I know it's been written by someone else, but, he said we need that transition between academy and someone working close that understands the academy and the value it is to a football club. And I really do believe that we will see more of the youngsters bedded into this squad, whether it's first team or on the fringes. I'm really looking forward to seeing Alfie Devine. I really do, really genuinely think there's a player in him. Dane Scarlett, I think he's an absolute gem. I think, obviously, we said a lot about Troy Parrott, but I think genuinely Dane Scarlett is the kid that could be up there. And we've obviously even got players in the under-19s and 17s that won their Premier League Winners' Cup and the other competitions they won. It's exciting times.
Oh, I agree. And I think that to an extent, that's why we do need to just get, spend big on some proper players. I don't think getting backups is needed because we have backups. We have our academy players who are ready to go. They're hungry. And we have a lot of young players coming back from loan who are also ready to get their sort of try in the first team. But that can only happen if our starting 11 plus a few more on the bench are top quality players who are going to guide these youngsters.
Yeah, and I think there just needs to be better cohesion, better team spirit between the academy and the first team. Because Harry Kane, when he first stepped onto that football pitch, and I think he played Hearts, I was actually there in the Europa League. No one believed he was up to the standard. Everyone around me. And if I'm being completely honest, myself, I was not convinced as a young lad. I didn't believe he had the quality, but he was given a chance. Tim Sherwood believed in him. Then you had Harry Redknapp before that as well. They saw something in him, and he got started over Roberto Soldado, who we just paid £28 million for, and then he excelled. We need to take a chance on these youngsters, and you need to give them a bit of time, because at the end of the day, look at right now, if you look at the top 6, if you look at our youngsters, Oliver Skip, Dane Scarlett, Alfie Devine are probably our best 3 youngsters. If you look at Chelsea's, Arsenal's, even Manchester United's to an extent, Man City have had a few fantastic players like Cole Palmer, Phil Foden come through in the last couple of years. Spurs haven't got anyone at the minute apart from Oliver Skip, who right now is not living up to the expectation that we'd like him to. There definitely needs to be better cohesion and more of a structured system that they can come through, because that's what we used to love, seeing the academy boys coming through the system and playing for Tottenham. That's what we love to see.
Yeah, and that's partially why, to an extent, like at least on my top 3, I didn't pick any forwards because we have the forwards. If we were to get another one, you need to sell one of them. Especially if you got youngsters who are coming in, when are they ever going to play if you just keep buying forwards? Not only that, but if you're constantly going to be in a position of where you're losing because you haven't invested in the rest of your squad, you're obviously never going to play Scarlett if you're in a losing position.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I think that's genuinely the shame why we're not in Europe is we won't have that chance to play the youngsters. Although you could argue the Carabao Cup earlier stages, but I think we're in a difficult situation where we need to win a trophy. and we're going to have to play the first teamers to all the way, really. I mean, I would think it would be frowned upon if we started playing weaker / younger teams in the early rounds of an opposition in League One, because I genuinely think the importance of the club now is to win a trophy, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you haven't then got that extra competition like the Europa League or the Conference League to bed a young player into the squad. But there we go. I'm going to go for my last pick, and I'm going to make it very quick. James Maddison, we've already talked about him. For me, I think it makes complete sense. £40 million. Leicester got relegated. He's a class player. He's going to be the player that picks up the ball, can come deep, can really drive, incredible free kicks, will support Kane in the attack, spread it to the wingers. It's just, it makes complete sense. And I think a couple of people put earlier, we should have got James Maddison years ago. And I agree. I really do agree. And for me, I think Newcastle are going to be the front runners because they're going to pay the money. They've got that Europe attraction. They've got this massive project with Eddie Howe, who's doing a fantastic job. Is it the more attractive club at the moment? Absolutely. But maybe we can offer James Maddison something special here. And hopefully, Kane stays, and that will be a big lure as well. I mean, we've got to the stage where we've got Harry Kane as a lure for players to come and want to play with him, because he's just, for me, call me biased, I think he's the best striker in the world. I really do.
I think it's just about Tottenham completing their deals and showing these players that the project that we're doing, we're not messing around, and that this upcoming season is going to be quite the comeback. That's what they need to see. They need to see that kind of investment happening. I mean, I'm sure Maddison will get some offers as well, but if he sees us signing Laporte, he sees us signing maybe Chiesa, and we sold Richarlison, all these types of different moves that just need to happen, Maddison could make his way here, and he would be so crucial for this team.
100%.
Absolutely.
And as Levy would say, we've got the training facilities, we've got the world-class stadium. Now it's time, as Mauricio Pochettino said, bring the furniture in alongside the nice house. It's time. Let's invest.
Absolutely, lads. We need to go to IKEA. We need to get our furniture in, whether that's cheap or expensive. We'll leave it up to you guys, or we won't. We'll leave it up to the club to see what they do. They'll strap us in. They'll keep us interested for the next few months, I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be more revelations coming in even the next few days about James Maddison, about Raya. Where do you think you're going to find all that information? Right here on Spurs Related. We've absolutely loved this video tonight, and we really do appreciate all the comments, all the new memberships. A big up Wayne as well on that one, and big up everyone that commented, gave their thoughts, and of course smashed a like on the video. Helps us out massively. Subs are coming in all the time. We really appreciate all the new subs. If you are sitting here watching and you're not subscribed and you've got a YouTube account, hit the subscribe button. It's completely free to do so. Andre, Jack, massive thanks for joining me tonight. Really did enjoy this one.
Yeah, that was a great one. Definitely kept me open. I think I've myself figured out what I want for Tottenham to sign. Especially once Jack brought up Guehi, I'm like, no, we need established players. But I mean, Jack's also got his opinion. We all have our opinions on it. But I mean, what's more exciting than entering a transfer window when the owner is saying that we're going to make some signings?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Measly Candy, big yourself up all the way from Indonesia. He said, what's Andre and Jack's Twitter handle? I'll leave it to them.
Yeah, you can just find me. You just look up Andre La Rosa, and you'll see me there. But I mean, I'm in the Spurs related thing. I'm pretty sure I'm tagged on some of those posts that I create as well for all the news, which you can find on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Yeah, I think mine's Jack_Burford. I have all my football opinions on there and stuff. Same as Instagram. I think James probably put it in a Twitter handle before or something. So yeah. Enjoyed today's video as always. Lovely, always a bit of controversial opinions. Not everyone's digging Marc Guehi, but in my opinion, I tell you what, I think he's going to be a good player. But no, enjoyed this one tonight. Looking forward to do in many more, because we love the transfer videos here on Spurs Related, don't we, James?
Absolutely. Guys, like I said before, smash a like, smash a subscribe. We will see you guys for more content very soon. I'll be putting this on Spotify and Apple Pods. You'll probably listen to it, some of you right now. And as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs!